We're back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So I wanted to call in, and we have part of the downside of being in the mediation session for as many days as we have is we really haven't been able to reach out to our fans too much. So wanted to reach out a little bit, and I know everybody's frustrated about the process, and I know our players are anxious to hear some positive news. We've been at this for 14 days, but, I just want to tell our fans thanks for their patience, but we're still waiting.
Now, DeMaurice, how much, I don't know how much you can say or not say, but, George Cohen, the mediator, it seemed that he had expressed early on that he would prefer that everybody kept all the negotiations in the room.
Yep.
Do you, having said that, can you comment on the atmosphere or the direction things are headed in at this point?
Not really, because I do want to respect the process. What I can tell all of our fans, at any given day, we have at least 5 or 6 of our executive committee members here. Drew Brees is coming back tomorrow. Kevin Mawai left yesterday after several days here. Tony Richardson's here. Charlie Batch is in the other room. Brian Waters, Scott Fajita. So all of our executive committee, it was important for us to have decision makers in the room at any given time, and I'm proud of them because that's what they've done. We're working hard because we believe that our fans deserve football. Our players certainly want to play, and like we've done for 2 years, we want to sit down and exchange information that's relevant and make decisions that make the game of football better for everybody.
Do you feel like guys could get a phone call tonight from the mediator and say, "Come on back, let's get back down to the table"? Or
look, if he does, I've told him that I'm never more than 10 minutes away. So if he calls, we'll come back.
Well, with where things are right now, I guess technically we're about 30 hours away from a potential lockout, and
yep.
Having said that, then that would probably mean that we're around 23 hours away from a decertification. Would that be a fair statement as well?
If we're headed towards a lockout, we're going to protect ourselves and do whatever we can to stop the lockout. That option obviously includes decertification. Right now I'm focusing on my hope that we engage in good faith negotiations to make sure that football's played for our players and our fans. And we continue to prepare for the worst, but certainly hope for the best and work towards the best.
If, DeMaurice, the union does not decertify by, I guess, 5 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, and you tell me if I'm off on my time.
As always, you were right on top of everything.
Does that mean then that option would not be available to the players anymore if this thing does go and the collective bargaining agreement expires?
Yeah, legally this is it in a nutshell. If for whatever reason we do not seek our antitrust rights right before the CBA expires, 2 things happen. One, we are without legal remedy to stop the lockout, which means that if the lockout is imposed, our fans are locked out and our players are locked out, and there's nothing that the Players Association can do about it for 6 months. And the second thing that happens is the tail end of that. We would be locked out with no legal recourse until at least 6 months later, and then we could seek legal recourse to stop the lockout. So, we hope that the lockout isn't headed in our direction. We're hoping that the CBA won't end and that we can get a deal done. But if it doesn't, and it looks like that a lockout is on the way, we will take every step to protect ourselves.
DeMaurice, was either side a little bit, a little bit hopeful that you could get something done, considering that once the season started this past year, the 2010 football season started, and, of course, the playoffs, the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was played the first week of February, and all of a sudden you had 3 to 4 weeks to get something that I would think was a pretty complicated process, perhaps, and maybe it doesn't have to be that way. But was there a little bit of wishful thinking that you could get everything wrapped up by the time that this CBA expired?
John, not really. We've been meeting for 2 years, and we released to the public a letter that I wrote to the National Football League in May of 2009, which laid out our request for audited financial statements. Most importantly, even before our first meeting on the collective bargaining agreement. So we've had nearly 45 meetings in the last 2 years. We've talked about a number of different concepts. The Players Association has made a number of proposals. So the hope was that, and the hope still is, was that the process of the mediation session could lend some value to get something done. And I have to still be hopeful for that, even as we get a lot closer to a lockout.
Are there really, the issues, the obvious issues, the money, the 18-game season, two of the more salient, I think, points that are being arm wrestled with right now? The 18-game season, I said this last week, and I don't have any idea, because it seemed to me, and I don't know what your recollection, chronologically speaking, of when this all of a sudden became part of the talk, but it seemed to me Commissioner Goodell started talking about an 18-game season at the start of the 2010 NFL season, and it just kind of fell out of the sky from nowhere.
Yep.
I'm curious to know if you guys are feeling that, is this perhaps, just a ploy and a red herring to really be having been pushing this all through the regular season, something that they really don't have any intentions of trying to follow through on, hoping that you'll give up on something else?
I don't spend a whole heck of a lot of time trying to crawl into somebody else's head to guess about what they're thinking. Obviously, there was a great deal of discussion about an 18-game season. As you know, there was a great deal of discussion and strong statements from both myself and our players about what you know better than just about anybody, the physical and mental toll of football on young men. And we felt and believe that an 18-game schedule under current conditions isn't in the best health and safety interest of the players of the National Football League. We've heard from the fans. We know they don't like 18 games. So, we made it abundantly clear of our position. So I don't know, why, or I don't want to speculate about why it was introduced, when it was introduced. It certainly was introduced, and we responded.
I want to ask you one last question, DeMaurice, and I really appreciate your joining us this afternoon, and then I'll let you go. But if everybody, I don't want to say mischaracterize both sides, I'm sure everybody's doing the best they can, but let's just say in the perfect world, if the things could really get to rolling, how long do you think it would take to actually wrap up a CBA, if everybody's really ready to do a little giving and taking?
To wrap up the whole thing?
Yes.
Look, it's obviously a complicated process, but certainly not something that that couldn't be done in a relatively tight time frame. I think the most important thing that would have to happen is parties exchanging the right information and committing themselves to what the framework of a deal is going to be, and then build in from there. So that's what I'm hoping for. But you know that this job, and you know what business is like in the National Football League. You can hope as much as you want, but you might as well prepare for things to not turn out the way you want them to be.